Find yourself a booth, order up a cold one. This is the Springbar.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Springbar. Glad to have you here. I am Florida Mike. I am with my co-host Joe, the OC. Joe, how you doing?
I am good. I'm still good. I've been good. I'm good.
Glad to hear. That's good. We're short a person.
That is correct. You'll notice we are KC-less. KC is on his way to begin some new avenue in his military career, and he's got some prep that he needs to do to get that set up. So hopefully by the time he gets settled, he will be able to rejoin us, but we may be missing him for a while, like for the foreseeable future. So we wish him well and hope for a speedy return, because I don't want to be dealing with that all the time.
Yeah. No, good luck to him. Hope he's faring well and look forward to having him back with us soon.
Very, very much.
So, let's see. New watch alerts.
Today,
Okay.
came today
All right.
from our friend Ghost and Crown.
See,
Oh!
okay. Yeah. I know
Told
what
you.
this is. I know what this
So,
is.
fantastically packaged. And
So
then,
hold on, is this really considered a new watch alert, or are we going to call it an NBA, a new borrow alert?
it is a borrow. I do not own this. This will be returned.
Okay.
Grudgingly, I think. This will be returned.
Yeah.
This is in the Crown and Caliber carrying case. This is
Very nice.
Universal Geneve
The pole router.
pole router. Not with the hooded lug, so I'm not sure exactly which iteration it is. But my goodness, I was asking and I wanted to know what the hype was about.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I get the hype. And
Yeah.
I've got a concert tomorrow. I will be wearing this to the concert. Oh, good Lord.
It's nice.
It's, yeah, it's nice. It's making me, see, so here's my logic. Follow my logic.
Okay.
Universal Geneve are the ones who made the moonSwatch for Bulova. That went to the moon,
Indeed they are.
and which means that I could collect Universal Geneve as Bulova adjacent.
Is that how we're selling this?
It's nice, man. And I've always said that if it wasn't Bulova, UG would probably be like if I had to start all over, yeah, I would go with UG.
That
And
would
then,
be it.
Oh yeah, the pole
Okay.
router, some of their older stuff, the dress watches, their tool watches, the all their chronos.
Boy, wouldn't that be a cool episode? If we had to start over again, what would we collect?
Well, we'll put it in the think box and see what else we could come up with, because
You know what I would go with?
I don't.
And a car.
Oh, that wouldn't be bad. That
They've
wouldn't
got
be bad at all.
they've got real cool funky stuff.
You're right. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. I agree.
I think that's where I'd go.
And so then on the wrist, I've got the nice big old chunky Bulova snorkel slash chronograph.
The chronograph.
The chronograph.
For some reason. Because Bulova.
Because Bulova.
That's a universal excuse for everything.
You know what?
do
It
you
works
got?
really well. And I am drinking a Yellowtail Shiraz because man does not live by
Ooh.
California wine alone.
One of my favorite blends.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
No,
It's not,
not at all.
It's not a California Pinot Noir, but what is?
It's not a Snoop Dogg wine.
It is not a Snoop Dogg wine, nor a Martha Stewart for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, what do you got, Mike?
All right. New watch alert. We are looking at a rectangular case, all stainless steel, on original bracelet with a blue dial. I am referring to another Jetstar.
Oh. So
This
that's
is-
what,
I have to-
eight out of 10, right?
This is number 8 of 10. This is 1973 Bulova Jetstar C. Again, everybody has seen the pictures on Instagram. It came out rather nice. It didn't come out of the package this way. It did take a little bit of work.
So you did have to you rebrushed it?
So I had to rebrush it, both the bracelet and the case. It didn't get everything out because I didn't do my usual method. I did a different method. It just kind of it softens and blends everything a
Uh-huh.
little nicer. Um, and then it had a broken rotor. The rotor was in two pieces. So the center of the rotor, where it attaches to the actual winding mechanism, was separated from the weight, and it's essentially press fit. So I just had to line it all up and get the tongue and groove just right and tap it in place, and voila, we got an automatic movement again.
And so how's it keeping time? Doing well?
It doing well. Loses maybe a few seconds a day. I can wind it, and a couple days later, it's maybe a minute behind. So, but
Nice.
overall, yeah, I can't complain about it. It's really nice.
All right.
So yeah, number 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Two
And
more to go.
you still got no
And
idea if anybody else has got it, right? This could be a Springbar exclusive, world first. Mike from Florida will be the only complete Jetstar collection owner on
exactly.
Instagram.
So I've reached out to other fellow Bulova collectors who are large enough collectors like yourself and myself. And I've also been talking on the forums at my Bulova, and nobody has come forward. And a couple of the people that are on there said they have not heard of anybody with a complete collection. Um, Somebody said I have four pieces. So we'll see. I don't know that I'll ever know for sure, but it would be a cool title to hold.
I
If
don't know that you were the first. I imagine somebody else has had it somewhere, but
I've
they
got to
they
believe I
current.
can't be the only
Okay.
one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, what's in the can, man?
Well, hold on. We're bypassing the wrist.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Timex Snoopy Q today.
Oh.
So we are not, I think it should be known, and if people don't know by now, we'll let in on the secret. We don't record like some shows do 1 or 2 days before our episode publishes. We record far in advance. So this is actually Speedy Tuesday. And Snoopy is synonymous with space travel. And since I don't own a Speedy, I wear my Snoopy in honor of Speedy Tuesday.
Oh, see, I wear my Astro, but I need to change the battery, and I didn't feel like doing it.
Well, see, I don't have any moonwatch, but that may change.
So
So hold on.
let's
Let's not,
what's
let's
what's
not,
in the can?
I got in the can. So I'm drinking Bold City Brewery. I believe they're out of Tallahassee, Florida, but this is Killer Whale Cream Ale. It's not the best beer I've tasted, not the worst beer I've tasted, but it is a light, creamy ale, and it gets the job done. Okay, so let's get into the topic. What do we
The
got on tap
topic
today?
today is, as it is for everybody this week, on Saturday past,
Hmm.
the collaboration, the mashup, the inspiration for all things coming in the future, the Swatch and Omega moonSwatch drop. And the discussion, the Omega Swatch,
The Omega Swatch.
it's the Omega Swatch, yes, but Swatch owns Omega, so I mean, maybe they're that's a concession. I don't know.
I'm just going by what it says on the dial.
That's fine, but the corporate heading will be slightly different. Mr. Hayek might have a word with you. Anyway, regardless of all of that, it is a topic. It is without a topic, and there have been a bunch of hot takes. So we
Hmm.
thought we should get into it because in previous discussions, Mike and I, we
So,
don't land in the same place here. So
yeah, no, this will be interesting. You're going to be making fun of me, and I'm going to be defending myself. So this is how this is going to go, I think.
fairly standard.
But this is, I mean, if we're honest, the collaboration that nobody it could have ever even anticipated or ever saw coming.
Well, so yeah, with the teasers, right? So they put out all the teasers, and you're taking a look at
Well,
some of the teaser pictures. It's like,
yes and no. So let's back it up a little bit.
all right,
So I've heard a couple of different things. I've heard that this was not supposed to be announced until release day. Okay, we're talking the 26th, that no information was supposed to go out. Now, it has been made very public that Revolution were apparently the first ones to leak their article. Somebody published it online. It got taken down extremely quickly, but the people that live in their mother's basements eating meatloaf screenshotted all the stuff and started to distribute all that information.
Not that we have anything against meatloaf or basements.
Nah, I love meatloaf, and if I had a basement, I'd probably be recording in it.
Fair enough.
So Swatch and Omega both released their Omega by Swatch, something coming March 26th teaser slides. I think it was on the 21st, if I remember correct, if I got my dates right. So I wonder if because this was leaked, they decided to, okay, let's just roll with it and go with it. So I've gotten a couple of different conflicting stories as to how the information was leaked.
Okay. I wouldn't discount that. All I know is that looking at the teasers, because I didn't get into on the Revolution pre-leak.
Yeah,
And
me either.
I follow Revolution relatively closely. However, looking even at the teaser pictures, like that isn't what I came up with. I didn't think that it was going to be what it was. It didn't show up to me at all. It just didn't register. And then when they suddenly dropped the pictures, it's like,
Well,
oh,
and they dropped the actual pictures on Thursday,
right.
and then it gave a couple days for the explosion
The
of
hype.
hype.
Yeah, that
And
hype
and
was
I don't
overdone.
and I don't remember. It was all so fast. The whole thing moved so fast. And I remember I came across a picture and I sent it to you guys in the chat, and I said, "Is this a real thing?" And it was a picture. I think it was the mission to the moon. And instantly I thought, wow, this is something different. This is really cool. I didn't know if it was just like a funny satire meme that somebody come up with, Omega and Swatch. It didn't make sense at the time. But then as I was looking a little further into it, it seemed like it was legit. So I'm not exactly sure what day that I maybe it was that Thursday. Um, but come to find out, this was something that was actually happening.
It was, and it went so quick. Like the pictures got released, and so to Omega and Swatch's credit, 11 different versions of it,
Hmm.
same movement, same strap essentially, just different colorways, different themes to the watches, right? You've got the Alaska hands, you've got some different dial iterations, some different dial
So
choices.
let's get into it real quick. And if you guys are listening and you don't know what we're talking about,
You
you
don't know
live
what we're
under a
talking
rock.
about.
You
Okay,
live under a rock. You need to spend more time on the internet.
you're listening to
Uh,
a watch podcast and you don't know about the moonSwatch. Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So it's 8 planets, and we're not telling you anything you don't know, but 8 planets: Pluto, the Sun, and the Moon. So when you look at the different colorways, um, people are starting to make connections, and whether they did this on purpose or not, this just seems to be the way that it falls. So the mission to the moon is most like the OG Speedmaster.
Yeah,
Uh,
gray
the
body, black
the light
dial
gray, black dial, yeah, white hands. The mission to Mars is the nod to the Alaska project
with the red case and the white
with and the
spaceship hands
little
subdial,
spaceship hands, yeah.
right?
Um, what do we got? Jupiter, people are saying is a nod to the Ultraman because of the orange
Yeah, the orange
chronograph
highlights
hands.
to it
Yeah.
a little bit.
Um, Uranus, once you get past the jokes, it's light blue. Everybody's going to call it the Tiffany dial. Okay. And then Pluto, I've heard referred to as kind of the nod to the Tokyo Olympics
Yeah, it's
watch
close. It's
because it has
close.
that maroon bezel.
And it's close to what the colorways that were from those limited edition drops. The
Yeah.
subdials, but yeah, it's close.
But yeah, that's what they're looking at it as. And you have the sun, and the sun is kind of neat. It's a little bit unique unto itself because it's the only one that has a sunburst dial.
You've got the Earth, which has the brown hands, so it's like,
Hmm.
okay,
Earthy tone colors.
okay.
What else do you have?
Now there is an argument to be had about Venus. Venus
Okay.
is so it's got the oval subdials.
Hmm.
However, it's pink
Yep.
because Venus is pink.
Well, you
So
you know what that is supposed to be replicating that particular watch?
Enlighten me.
It is the lady's dial. I believe it's a um, mother of pearl dial, and it has the diamonds in the oval section of the subdials. And somebody
Right.
said when they were reviewing it on YouTube, they said, "Well, I don't understand what the little dots are around here." And I'm like, "Well, how do you not know? I mean, even I know this, and I'm not a Speedmaster aficionado, but I know that there is the ladies model that has the diamonds around the subdials,
Okay.
and that would make sense why it's pink."
However, some of the ladies that I have spoken to is like, why is the ladies' watch got to be pink? Why is it got to be pink? Why are we making the Venus, the female, out of the solar system? Why is that pink? Why?
You're not going to please everybody all of the time.
No, you're not. And to be honest, if I were going to get one, that's the one that I would get. So, burning question. Burning question.
Which
Is it
one would you buy?
No, is it a Speedmaster?
So it says Omega on the dial. It says Speedmaster on the dial. Therefore, it is a Speedmaster.
Counterpoint. I
Hmm.
got a Sharpie. I can write both of those things on this dial.
I dare you to.
Yeah, right.
So here's the thing. It is not a quote unquote genuine Speedmaster. It is not stainless steel. It is not mechanical. And it has the genuine Speedmaster has the Speedmaster dial layout. So it's a 1-to-1 case dimension, 42 millimeter, 20 millimeter lugs. Okay, the same design, I mean, everything down to the finest detail. 1-to-1 copy. The dial layout is obviously going to be different, although they did a really good job staying faithful to the stepped dial, the sunken sub dials, using the same styled handsets and all that. But it's a quartz version. So let's call it what it is and call it the Quartz Speedmaster. I'm okay with that.
I do not say so. I do not agree. I do not believe that you can have a plastic watch and call it the Speedmaster.
But
I
it's not
don't.
plastic.
Okay, it is a
It's bioceramic.
it's bioceramic, which is untested. It definitely doesn't get to hold the professional moniker. And
No,
part of,
no,
well,
no.
but now hang on, work with me here, because the idea behind the Speedmaster, the reason that the Speedmaster is the moon watch, the reason behind all of that is because it could meet the rigors of all the testing. And initially, right, with Wally Schirra, I think, was the first one to take one up in the Mercury capsules. It went up as a personal watch. The original 7 astronauts were known speed enthusiasts, shall we say, and that's
Hmm.
evident by a lot of their initial choices of watches that went up in the Mercury program, including the Bulova or Accutron astronaut. Just want to get that in there as much as I can.
Yeah.
Um,
And
I don't,
nobody's denying that
right,
Bulova had
well,
a
right,
moon watch,
it's right, and I'm not saying that they are, but this watch, quartz, bioceramic,
but they're not calling it a Speedmaster
they're
Professional. They are
not.
calling it a Speedmaster moonSwatch.
That's true,
So
they are,
they're
but
differentiating it from the Speedmaster line because it's not meant to be a replacement or another option to the Speedmaster.
okay.
So you're going to buy this watch if you're an enthusiast, if you're a collector, even if you're somebody who's interested in getting into watches.
Well,
This is a perfect
let's
entry.
circle back to that. We're going to
Okay.
put a pin here. Let's circle back because talking about like the day of the release,
Hmm.
there's some issues that go along with that. It drops and people get into line immediately. The problem that we run into immediately, and the problem has a couple of different layers. Problem number one, this is not a limited release item.
Hmm.
It's not going to go out of stock. It's not even numbered. So there's going to be a bunch of them. Now, granted, there were only 100,000 that came out, and this information comes out also relatively quickly.
I don't, I heard a large number of pieces being released. I don't think it's anywhere near that number because How many boutiques were they distributing these to? I don't know the number offhand. It's not
I don't
that
have a
many.
total. I couldn't give you a total. But I
The
mean,
most,
you're looking at most countries with multiple boutiques. Maybe it's upwards of 50.
I don't even think it's that many. If you went on the list, well, maybe worldwide, okay, possibly.
Right. I
But
think worldwide. Right.
yeah, the most I've ever heard throughout the weekend that any one boutique had on hand, and we're talking total, okay, not per colorway, total was 150.
I got more 210 in
Okay.
upward of 200 in a couple spots. But
I
even
heard
still,
even Hawaii had like 50 of them, or
yeah.
even
Oh,
less
I'm
than.
sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But I'm imagining Saudi Arabia probably had a few more,
But
and
that
I
number
believe
doesn't equal 100,000. We're
it doesn't. But
maybe a couple
Francisco.
thousand.
San Francisco had a few more than that also, but regardless, it's not a limited drop, and it's supposed to go what it goes internet sales soon.
So here's the thing with that is when they first released the information on this, it said nothing about non-limited release, um, nothing about online sales. It
Right,
just said, what was it? Is it limited boutique only?
right.
So nobody at that point knew. And I think that's what really lit the fire.
Well, it did, but like that, all the rest of that information started coming out pretty quick. Like Omega had to play damage control fast. Swatch had to play damage control really fast, and
Well,
so
yeah,
this is
but
where
they
our
did
layers
it in a
start coming in.
weird way though, because they didn't come out and publicly announce on their platforms that it was not limited and that would be online sales until the day of
Right.
release. Until then, they were replying to social media comments. And that's how I found out that it was not limited and it would be eventually sold online,
Yeah.
which is weird. And people will say, well, they really had no idea that this was going to be this big and the interest was going to be this great. Okay, for real,
Yeah.
Omega
$260
and
Omega.
Swatch are making a $260 Speedmaster, and you didn't think that people were going to lose their ever loving minds over this?
Right.
I find that hard to believe.
So, multiple layers. First one, they didn't expect anybody to start waiting in line, which they did.
Hmm.
Second one, they had absolutely no plan
Mm-mm.
because second thing they do is okay, we've got this limited thing. It's going to come out. We're going to do this. It's going to be 2 watches per person,
Hmm.
knowing what they'd already distributed, and then they saw the lines and they recognized we got way more than enough.
That
So
changed real quick.
so they dropped that down to 1 per person, which means that Mike didn't get his watch because you had somebody lined up, right?
I had somebody lined up in London to pick me one up. And what's funny is he wasn't even a person that was going to go early. He was going to go in before he went to work that day. And when I found out they were going to be doing online sales, I wrote him back and I said, hey, I says, if you go in there and you get one, I said, don't worry about me. I'll just wait till it comes out online. And I don't even think he went in. He wouldn't even had a chance. There was, if you went there the day of, the morning of, you were not getting a watch.
Well, also, right. So our friend of the show, Lauren, at Watchmaker's
Hmm.
daughter, she was going to pick one up for KC,
For KC.
and she's like, no way, no way. And it's like, okay, I get it. And if you weren't into that kind
And
of hype,
it's interesting the way that it worked because when the 26th came around for Australia, you started to see how this was going to take shape. Mass amounts of people, and then it moved into to East Asia. Mass amounts of people moved across. Mass amounts of people. Stores were getting shut down by the police because there were just mobs of people. So they were closing stores all the way up until you get into roughly London area. I think they shut their store down as well. They told people check social media, come back tomorrow. Once you start moving a little further west, that's when I started to notice that some of these stores were handing out tickets, or
Well,
they were numbering people's hands and stuff. So they were starting to
this
catch
is our
on.
next layer, because you start taking a look. Okay, that nobody at their corporate office reached out to anyone. So they didn't reach out to any of the Supreme drops. They didn't reach out to any of the iPhone, Apple drops. They didn't reach out to anything that's going to be really, really lucrative, that's going to be involved with flippers and going to be involved with, and we'll get into flippers in a second.
Yeah.
They didn't talk to any of the American retailers about Black Friday, essentially. And so when you see it get to the store openings on the East Coast, you got the American retailers, the American Swatch stores. It's like, okay, here's how we do this. You're in line, cool. Here's your number. This is how many pieces we've got. If you're after this number, you don't get one. Like, we'll take the next 10. You can be alternates in case they decide not to buy, or if their color's not available, whatever.
Yeah.
But they didn't reach out for that in Asia. Like Asia, in the mob scenes that you've seen in Australia and I believe it's Hong Kong also, is this just sort of like there's a cordon, and they lift the rope,
lift it up,
people
and
mob it in, and it's like,
yeah,
this is going to be horrific.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't have to do that. It doesn't have to happen that way. There is enough experience with all of these things that it shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be that kind of problem. And then you've also got to make sure that you have enough transparency to say there's a limited amount. Because as soon as you do, right, interest goes through the roof. But as soon as you say there's a limited amount, then you have to say will be available online. It is not a numbered. It is not. That being said, that once this initial run is gone, they may do another reissue of it, and they may satisfy it. But if they're smart, they don't. They don't do that. They don't. They give that maybe 500 pieces of each, because that's what Swatch kind of does. And they run it for a year, and then they stop, and then they can do new colorways, and they can keep that interest going. They can keep, and so now you got your OG pieces. That's gonna be huge. The new drops, that's gonna be huge. Like this is a brilliant sales move.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I follow what you're saying. I think that the Court Speedmaster will be around for a while. I tend to think they're going to replenish their stock with the planets, the 11 pieces. They may do it 2 or 3 times. That's what I think, because the demand is so great right now. What I wish they would do is pre-sales. I have no problem giving you my money. Tell me I got one coming. That way, you know what to produce, what colors, how many you need, and so forth.
They might. I don't know that Swatch is set up that way, though. I don't think that anybody in the Swatch group is really set up that way for that type of pre-order, that pre-drop.
But you're going to tell me that
model, right?
that a group as large as Swatch Group doesn't have a web person smart enough to figure out how to do a quick pre-order system?
They probably do. I am sure that they do, but they're not set up that way. They aren't set up for. I mean, Swatch itself is set up for that type of retail that you can buy off of their website. But the rest of the Swatch group, can you buy Rado online? Can you buy Omega online, or do you need to go through an AD? It's because it's way out of my wheelhouse. The Swatch I bought my son as his first watch, we configured online, put in the order, they mailed it to us. He got to unbox it at home. I've got film and video.
So isn't that technically a pre-order? You ordered it, they had to make it, and they sent it to you.
It is, and so Swatch can handle that. But it was pre-order of existing stock, because it was the configure online versus anything if they have to make it or if you have to wait for it. And all
yes
that,
and no, because did you line it up on the print? So that's not pre-made stock. If you had to line up, because Swatch, they have, we'll call it the wallpapers, and you can line up so that way you get certain patterns on the bracelet or the strap and whatever. So that's not pre-made stock. Oh no, that has to be custom made.
His is solid red. The only thing that's different is the keeper. We got a black keeper. It's the first watch. You give the kid a break.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm saying Swatch does this. They have this system in place.
They do. They've got it. They've got it all in place, and they can do it on demand. but I don't think I think more that they are doing larger larger productions, particularly for something like this, which is not going to have customization involved, right?
Hmm.
Because these watches are going to be stock standard, and
Hmm.
rather than saying, okay, we need to produce 711 more, you're saying, okay, we're going to do another run of 1,000. We're going to do another run of 1,000, another run of 1,000, and they're just gonna do it that way rather than order to a number per se. And I
Hmm.
think that economy of scale saves them a little bit. But I know that they're going to be analyzing all of this
Oh, for sure.
massively. All what were our sales data? How quick did we sell out? And all that kind of stuff too, so they can try to gauge demand because that those analytics are just going down deep.
Yeah. So to take it, like what you were saying too, future colorways for sure. I would be interested to see if they do Snoopy releases.
I well, that would be interesting.
Hmm.
That would be really interesting because
Or
it's going to
or
be a question of
the upcoming.
who has the Snoopy licensing, and I think that it right now it's Timex, so that may have to wait until after, and so who knows? Who knows? That's a really interesting question.
Yeah. So I don't know. NASA collaborations. You have the upcoming NASA missions. So there's really a lot of possibilities that you can do with this.
There
And
are.
I'll be in line. I mean, I am going to buy one of these for
Are
sure.
you? You sure?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if they did a pre-order system, they would have got me for two
Oh,
because when this first happened, I said, "Oh, I don't know which one I want more. I don't know if I want the Moon Watch or if I want the Mars Watch." So you know what? I'm going to buy them both,
right.
but I couldn't. So now I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'll buy the Mission to the Moon because that's the OG colorway, the one that flies under the radar. And then if I like it, I'll do the Mission to Mars if I can get my hands on one.
Okay. So,
Well, you could if you went to eBay.
well, right, and so that's part of. So now it's a flipper's paradise, and I
Hmm.
think that they've it's gone for well over $1,000. A couple have sold.
So the thing that got me is Friday night. These
Yeah.
were up on eBay for auction, and we're talking prices in excess
20
of five
26
figures.
$26,000.
Yeah. Now, two things. How are you auctioning a specific colorway that you don't have in hand? Okay. Secondly, that $26,000 price, is that a genuine bid? Or is that just people so mad at the flippers that they're running up to ridiculous numbers that they know that people aren't going to pay? And that
Who,
way it's screwing over the flippers.
who knows? Who knows? It became so ridiculous, and I remember seeing some stuff out about various eBay posts. There was that eBay offer is like don't let the flippers win. Buy this for a
Yeah,
dollar. Yeah,
for
don't
for a
right.
dollar and a penny, they email you a picture that says, you didn't buy from a flipper and things like
Right, or
that.
something like that. It was
Yeah.
like, okay, now, all right, I don't mind that. I don't mind somebody flipping and trying to make a quick buck. And there's a couple different arguments to be said on that specifically. First one being that Omega underpriced the watch, and that if they would have made it a higher price, they would have eliminated some of that. But
Okay.
I'm willing to bet if they had that the flippers just would have gone just as much because I think that people that really wanted this watch would have paid over $500 for it.
So do you think it's underpriced or do you think it's right on the mark?
Oh no, I think it's completely on the mark. And the reason
I
I
do
think it's
too.
on the mark is because of this. The strap that it comes on
Hmm.
is a similar strap is being sold at the Omega boutique for $160,
Hmm.
which means that the watch is way less. Right? Most expensive thing on that watch might be
Well,
the battery.
but no, it's not. It's the movement for sure. Because that strap is not the same strap that they're selling. It's a
No,
strap similar to.
right, similar to. However, right, when we're talking about production value of it, that's negligible. It's being produced probably in the same Chinese factory. Come on.
Well, yeah.
Right.
The movement is the most expensive part. I'd be willing to bet that. And we'll get into that in a minute.
All right.
Okay. Um, I was looking today on eBay and the the page of listings is just endless right now.
How many
And
pages?
I have no idea. I was scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and I couldn't take it anymore because there were just so many.
Oh wow.
Um, I would say the average starting price was between 1,500 and 2,000.
No way.
Yeah, there's some for less, some for around 995, maybe some for 750, but those were few and far between. The average price was about 1,500 to 2,000.
I wonder how much of that got weeded out because of the buy it now price. And the fact that you didn't see it because they're gone. And they were gone as soon as they were in hand. They were gone Saturday by noon.
Well, yeah, could be. And the one thing that I noticed too is a lot of these accounts, if you scroll down and you look at the seller, they have zero feedback.
Sure.
So these for sure are people who went in there just to cash in on an opportunity.
Absolutely. 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 When you start looking at what the markup is, it's a $260 watch, and you can sell it, buy it now for $1,000. You make $750 profit. Oh, come on, that's a no-brainer, man.
Yeah,
And then
but
if you'd gotten your stuff together, if you were quick enough on it, and you put people in line, and you were within the first 100, you were guaranteed multiples. Come on.
I couldn't do that. Maybe I'm a good person. I couldn't do that. If I was going to sell it, okay, so it's a $260 watch. I might charge $300 for it because I waited 8 hours in line and I did the legwork for you, and you can pay me that $40 for my time.
It's the question, right? But that's the whole thing, right? Okay, so it's if you are looking at it from a business standpoint, what is it worth for your time? Personally, my time per hour, if I'm waiting for 8 hours, that's $50 an hour because I know what I'm worth. So you're going to be paying me for the time that I waited in line, and then you're going to be paying
That's
for the
a whole nother conversation for another day.
well. I didn't say what you would
What?
pay me. I'm saying what
What?
I would
What?
charge. So you start looking at it from that standpoint. It's like okay, and I can see that people are making a ton of money off of it. Now the thing that I'm really respect though is how many because it was a limited drop, right? There was no boutique in Florida. It was New York.
No, there was in Miami.
Was it okay? So there
It's
was
just
only
not
one.
near me.
Well, right, but even still, like
Yeah.
there's in California, it was in San Francisco,
Hmm.
and then there was Las Vegas, there was New York, there was Miami. I think there was a couple of others in the Midwest. There was
I
like
think two in Texas.
maybe, I mean Houston makes sense, but whatever.
Hmm.
The number of people that I know and that I know of who had somebody who was willing to stand in line for them speaks a lot to the community that we're a part of. You have to respect that. You have to. It's like, you know what? If I were able to, if there were a boutique that was nearby, I would
Hmm.
have gone. I would have gone to wait. If there would have been one in because there's a big Swatch boutique that's down in Orange County, down at South Coast Plaza, which has got there's a Patek boutique, Longines, couple. There's Rolex. There's Jaeger, AD's branded stores are there. Oh shoot, Cartier.
Hmm.
Like there's some high end stuff that's down at this mall, and there's a Swatch boutique. It's like cool. I would have gone. I totally would have gone. I would have stood in line. I would have got a watch for you. I would have got a watch for KC because I don't want one. But I would have been happy to sit in line with a bunch of watch idiot savants, and we would have had a ball, man. It would have
So,
been good times.
yeah, and I would have been one of those people too. If there was a store nearby me, I absolutely would have gone and camped out for the experience. And people are saying, "Well, you're doing all this for a $260 watch," but again, this is a
Right.
once in a lifetime collaboration that
Well,
probably may not happen again.
I'm not even looking at it from that standpoint. Like just for me with the experience part of it, that
But
would have been
and you're
fun.
getting the experience, and that would have been a blast. It
That would have
really
been
would
told,
have been.
that would have been an absolute ball. And even not to keep the watch and not to flip the watch. I would have gotten it for somebody who couldn't get there. Absolutely without question.
Now,
And I would have sold it at cost.
here's the other side of that argument. There was a very clear divide amongst the watch community with this release.
Mhm.
Half is people like you who are excited for this to come out, will do that for their watch friends, And then you have the other half who, I'm never buying Omega again. This ruined it for me completely. You talk about the watch community being, one of the better communities out there as far as, collecting or clubs or, whatever in the social media space.
The watch fam, hashtag watch fam.
The watch fam.
Yeah.
But you have, and there really is no middle ground. You're either on one side of the line or you're on the other side of the line. And
Okay.
I am shocked that today, because I was looking, the lack of Speedy Tuesday posts, including these watches, was very, very minimal. And I feel like it was because they were afraid of what
They were afraid of the hate. Okay, so
Exactly,
I've got two takes there. All right, it's devalued Omega.
It has it.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. It's devalued Omega. First question I have is: do you own a Speedmaster? Because if you're saying if no, anyone who says that, because if they say it's devalued Omega and you own a Speedmaster, the value of the Speedmaster you possess has just gone up. You're not going to sell it in the next couple of years. However, 100,000 new Speedmaster, your words, Speedmaster owners have just been minted. And the Speedmaster, if we cannot call that a cult watch, I don't know what is. Because the people that get into Speedmasters, it's a 9-digit model number that they've got memorized down to the decimal, and they know the differences in iteration. Is like, oh well, this month it was and Johann made blah, blah blah blah, and you watch these people and they get into minutia. I mean, it's worse than Rolex, for crying out loud. Your watch has just gone up in value because that person who bought the Mission to Neptune, the Mission to Uranus watch, if they get into it, they're going to look at that and they're going to want the original.
So how has it devalued them?
It hasn't. It's not devalued it at all. I don't think it's devalued.
Well, I thought you said it did devalue them.
No.
Oh yeah, no. Oh, we're on the same page then.
No, it hasn't devalued. It hasn't devalued the watch brand at all. If you don't own one, and you're saying that it has devalued the Omega brand, well, now you're just jealous, aren't you? Because there's no diminution of the brand whatsoever. Okay, yes, it is not a Speedmaster. I will go to my grave and say it's not a Speedmaster, regardless of what is on the dial. However, as an entry-level watch, I mean, you want to talk about first-time free. Good God, man. That watch is awesome.
So let me ask you this question. Why, to you, is it not a Speedmaster?
Bioceramic quartz movement. And it's not that I'm poo-pooing on the quartz movement. That's not the issue.
So let me ask you this. So based on the original Speedmaster stainless steel mechanical movement, this is bioceramic quartz movement. So you're saying because of that, it is not a Speedmaster?
No, not because it's quartz movement. Because you're going to talk about
no. But quartz and bioceramic.
Go on, say Speed Sonic. Do it.
No, I'm not going to say the Speed Sonic.
Okay.
I'm going to say the Bull of a Lunar Pilot.
Yes, the which original... is also not a space watch, not a moon watch. It is a reissue, a reproduction of. I will not say
nobody's saying that this Speedmaster is a moon watch.
Correct, but they are not. But it's a moonSwatch, right?
It's a moonSwatch.
We're going to play off of all of that, and I agree. Bulova does the exact same thing, which is one of the reasons that I don't own the Lunar Pilot
anymore.
Ever, and I've never had one.
I thought you had one.
No, not me.
Oh, okay.
KC had one. He still has one, but I've never had one because for me it was too big. It didn't sit well on my wrist. My issue is the quartz movement, completely and utterly the quartz movement, and it is not that I am an anti-quartz guy. I'm a huge Accutron fan. I am a high accuracy quartz fan. I have a couple. I've got the snorkel reissue from the Accutron 2, the Volvo reissue. I've got the quartz surfboard, right? And these are great watches, and I really appreciate them. I don't like the cheap swatch movement that's in this watch. I don't like
Okay.
the tick. I don't care for that. And so like the pictures, I think the pictures are $1,000,000. But as soon as you see the video, it's like, nope.
I'm
Not
going to
gonna
tell you
touch it.
something. I'm
Do
going to
it.
tell you something. Where did it go? Tissot,
Uh-huh.
Tag Heuer,
Uh-huh.
Certina,
Uh-huh.
Hamilton,
Keep
all
going.
Swatch Group watches.
Yes.
Okay. All watches that use the exact same movement that is in the moonSwatch.
Yeah.
Because people are complaining, oh, well, the same thing. It ticks so loud, the swatch movement. Everybody calls it the swatch movement. Has nobody paid attention to the case back of this watch? Very clearly says ETA V8 4 joule. This
Yeah.
is the G10 212 movement, the same movement that's in the all
List
the
it again. What are they?
Tissot quartzes,
Hang on, hang on.
the
What
Tag
are the
Heuer Formula Ones,
Okay, don't have it. What else?
the any
Keep going.
Tissot quartz chronograph.
Don't have that. Keep going.
I
What's
know
next?
you don't have them, but the point
Right.
is,
I rest my case. That movement doesn't do it for me. When I've got like the quartz that
that is,
I've got a much smoother second hand on all of them. All of them.
yeah, yeah.
It's a
But
higher accuracy quartz on every single movement that I've got. So if I'm going to be
let me
looking,
tell you something. I have the Tissot PRS 516 quartz chronograph. I've had that watch for probably 10 years now. It has the early iteration, the G10 to 11 quartz chronograph movement. It is probably the best, most accurate chronograph that I own. So for the fact that this has the successor to that, I am more than happy. I am over the moon, if you would, that this movement
it was so
is in is in this watch.
bad.
They very well could have used a cheap movement. But the fact that they went with this, it's a jeweled quartz movement, for crying out loud. Come on, give it that at least. It is not a cheap movement. Not a cheap movement.
It's 4 joules. I got 4 joules. I've
It
swallowed
is
4 joules. Come
it
on, I'm
is
a
a
4 joule movement.
it is the workhorse quartz chronograph movement.
Yeah, yeah.
And because of that, I have zero issues with it.
I'm not arguing the movement. I'm not arguing the caliber of the movement, the quality of the movement. I'm
And
arguing.
and for those who want to complain about the tick, okay, I've owned this movement for, what did I say, almost 10 years now. You cannot hear it tick. Come on,
I'm not
people.
no, 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 no. This has
I'm
got
not saying you. I'm saying everybody who's complaining about how loud this is. It is not loud.
no, no, no.
It's not a
I'm not
loud
arguing about the
movement.
sound of it because I haven't heard that. I'm talking the visual. The visual of that tick turned me off completely.
So what?
Completely.
So
Completely.
what?
So what? Not what I want. Not what I want, which is why I don't have one. And why I didn't go get in line. I didn't drive the 4 hours to Vegas on a Friday
Well,
to see if I could get one. Which
when they
I
come out, when they come out online with the one per person,
Hmm,
then you can order me the Alaska Project, and I'll order
okay,
the Moon one.
I got you.
I'll take your allocation.
Cheers. All right. So what's next? Where do we go from here?
That's the question. Where do collabs go from here? Will we see another collaboration like this again? Will we see a Omega Swatch Seamaster? Will we see? I mean, what do they do?
The
You know,
memes are deep. Okay.
aside from colorway drops. I
So
mean,
so the question comes up, and I was bringing this up at a Chrono Group meet that I was at last week at Bendy Jewelers. Shout out to Bendy Jewelers. If you haven't been to any of their multiple locations, please go. Excellent, excellent time.
mhm.
It has to do with depth. What other watch brands, who has the depth and the history to be able to pull off a collab like this? Swatch Group, okay.
Mhm.
Richemont, probably not. Rolex, no, because they don't have anybody to collaborate with,
They don't. Yeah.
right? Casio, maybe, probably not. Citizen Group, potentially.
Possibly.
right? Because they've got the depth, and you've got this mix of high low. It's like, who's Timex going to collaborate with? At this point in time, nobody, because Timex is moving into their higher end movements. They've got all the Chinese movement stuff that they're doing. They've got the Giardos, they've got the Marlins, they've got some other. They're doing some interesting things. Like
Well,
who else? Who else
so
is really going to be able to pull that out?
let's keep it within the Swatch group. Will they do something with Tag Heuer? Will they do a Tag Heuer Carrera chronograph bioceramica case? Could they? Would people go for another luxury brand, street brand? Can they handle it a second time around? I don't know.
I don't have an answer for that. I mean, I think that when you look at like collaborations, most of the ones that have been done have been limited drops. It's been a limited edition. It's been a numbered iteration. It will be with a well-established brand. Huckberry has done a few. Supreme has done a few.
Well, and in fairness, a lot of watch collaborations, you're going to get. So let's look at Timex. Okay, they had the Timex Todd Snyder watches, which is essentially a Timex with a really cool looking printed dial and the Todd Snyder name on it. That's what collaborations.
That wasn't the branding either, right? Because the Snyder name was someplace else. It wasn't on the dial, or at least not on all of them, right? Because
it wasn't on the dial, but I mean, it was on the case back or whatever. Right. But I mean, you knew it was a Snyder, collaboration.
Well, but since you also the first one I remember seeing was the Atmos, which was a dive watch that they did with J. Crew, I want to say, and then J. Crew also did one with Bulova. They did a few, and so they left their name off of it, but it was something that was sold exclusively in their shops.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay,
and that's what collaborations really up until this point have kind of been. It's just you're putting a second brand name on your watch, and it was sold exclusively through that retailer. This is something very different.
Because
it brought it to a new level.
Well, you look at any of the fashion brands, right, who have gone into the watch space, and they've always purchased from somebody else. They will have done the design, and Gucci, the initial Gucci watches, the some of the Fossil stuff, some of the
and I have a Dolce and Gabbana that's a Seiko.
Right, and I'm not slamming those at all. I'm just saying that. I am a fashion house. I want to design a watch to my own aesthetic. You're going to make it. But the reason that you're going to do that is because I don't have the expertise in that. Swatch can make a watch. We know this. They've been making them for, 30, 40 years. Omega can definitely make a watch. They've been making watches for hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. And Omega could make a plastic watch if they really wanted to. Swatch could make a mechanical chronograph if they really wanted to. The idea that these two well-established brands have come together that way, that's the part that's just kind of flummoxing. You've got Longchamp, who did some stuff with Bulova. You've got Dior, who's done some stuff with Bulova, and we're going to talk about Bulova because that's what I know. You've got other fashion brands like Seiko and Gucci and everybody who they make these collaborations. But to see two well-established watch brands, now the difference is they're in the same owner group, and it's like, okay, who else has got that kind of owner group? Who else could pull that sort of thing off? And there's not a lot.
There's not a lot, but Swatch has a lot of big names to play with.
Well, they do, and the Swatch group. They've got a ton, right? Rado comes to mind, Hamilton comes to mind, and you could go deep into those. Except, what's really iconic in any of those lines that's more iconic than the Speedmaster? And the answer is none.
The Monaco,
okay.
The Formula One.
Oh, maybe more than the Speedmaster. Monaco, yeah, I could see that, but
the Monaco and the Formula One are to Tag Heuer what the Speedmaster is to Omega.
But the F1 looks a lot like some of the swatches that have already been done. So how do you not dilute your brand, right? Because when you talk about a watch that you can identify at 30 feet, Speedmaster's up there. Sub is up there. Monaco. Beyond that, at 30 feet, Daytona,
Well,
maybe, maybe not. Jaeger, Reverso, maybe. Patek, no.
you know what one stands out to me quite often is the Aqua Racer. That's a unique case design. Or at least they used to be, at least.
Maybe, maybe. I mean, anything else, you're not gonna be able to ID it from far away. What the Hamilton? What the Ventura? What's the
Oh, yeah,
right? Okay, so
yeah.
yeah, so maybe Swatch does a Hamilton collab with that in the shaped case, but unless you get into shaped cases, iconic dial layout is like the difference between in terms of like a kid's drawing. If I asked my son to draw a Daytona and then draw a Speedmaster, they'd probably look alike.
Hmm.
Would you be able to tell the difference? Probably not. Throw in an Octavia, would you be able to tell the difference? No, not at all. So I don't see where you can get more bang for the buck than that pairing. Just to
Yeah.
be honest.
Well, time will tell.
Yeah.
If we only had the crystal ball,
I got a Magic 8 Ball.
shake it up, see what it says.
Okay.
Will I get one soon?
Ask again later.
Yeah. Oh, all right, Joe.
So what's our last call?
Can we talk just for a moment? Thin watches,
Yes.
wafer thin watches.
Yes. So you're speaking of Octavinissimos, the Bulgaris, and you're talking about Piaget Altiplanos, and you're talking about the Seiko Quartz, really, really, really fucking thin. What else?
Well, I mean, I'm talking 2 millimeter and sub 2 millimeter.
Okay.
Okay, so we're talking the Bulgaris and the Piagets. They just fantastic feats of engineering.
It's something else, right? So
It
you
is
start
something
taking a
else.
look at the design standpoint of those watches and this idea that okay, I am going to completely reimagine everything. I'm going to reimagine the case. I'm going to reimagine the main plate. I'm going to reimagine the hands. I'm going to reimagine every single option that there is and how a watch is constructed. Going back to Abraham Breguet. Like, good God, man. The amount of conceptual unlearning that has to go just into that kind of design.
Hmm. But then they make it, and
Right.
then they sit there and say, "Well, how can we shave more off?"
Well, yeah, because once you've done it, and that's the whole Bulgari trick, right? Because they've sliced that wafer real thin, and they've come up with some
Yeah.
amazing things. Like you look at the new release, the regulator, where it's like, okay, we can't make it thin enough, so we're gonna split the hands because that way we don't have to stack those dials. It's like, good
Hmm.
God, man.
And
So
here's and I read an article. Well, I read part of an article.
there it is.
I started with the pictures, but then I was reading the words. So the Actifinissimo Ultra is 1.8 millimeters thick, if you want to call it thick. Um, it has actually a thicker crystal than the Piaget Altiplano does.
Yes.
It is 0.3 millimeters versus the Piaget 0.2 millimeter.
Very
But
important.
what I found super, super interesting was the clearance between the bottom side of the crystal and the top of the hands is 0.1 millimeter.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's like, how?
Well, I mean, when you think about watch manufacturers and the tolerances that they're working with, it's like, yeah, okay, I can see that. You could design things that way with CAD and all the rest of it. So I actually had the chance at the last meetup that I was at Bindi Jewelry, second
Mhm.
time. Roy,
Are you getting paid for this shameless
Ash,
plug?
come on, somebody. I'll take another one of those water bottles because I didn't
Yeah.
win. I didn't win the Cartier branded champagne that
Oh,
may or
wah,
may
wah.
not have been sitting around for 7 months. I had the chance to try one on, and it was your standard. It was the
standard Octafinissimo.
well, it was this one. It was the stainless, not the titanium, and when
Okay.
it was very nice. However, it was way bigger on the wrist, bigger dial presence than I expected. The other thing that I found interesting was the way that the lugs were shaped,
Mm-hmm.
because the way that the case set up, like you got the lugs hung out, and it it presented larger than you would expect for something that is so thin.
And I
And the
think,
wrist presence was there was a lot of wrist presence, and the bracelet. I mean, it was comfortable. It was nice. It
mhm.
wasn't sized for me, but even still. But all of that being said, right? I've got this Bulova Ambassador with the Burr and micro rotor, and that's specifically to be thin.
Mhm.
Thing that you can't, I mean, you can't really tell too much from the case profile
It
because of the
looks
the
thin.
beveling, right? The beveling on the underside of the case,
Yeah.
because it sits into the wrist. This watch wears incredibly thin, really light, and
Hmm.
it's how thin is too thin? I don't know. I know that
Well,
the right the
that's
Piaget bends. You can't like you got to be careful with just wearing it and like tightening down the strap. The
well, and that's the
Bulgaris
thing.
they
I
don't.
think because they put just a little more thought into shaping. So their lugs, I think, step down and give you that little bit of a curve around your wrist, as much as you're going to get for an ultra thin watch like that. Where the Piaget, that's wafer straight all the way
Yeah.
across. So there's nothing you can do about that. And yeah, and that's why they make them out of these. What do they make the Piaget out of? That's cobalt, and the Octafinissimo is titanium bezel and tungsten carbide base plate case back. Same thing.
Like you do.
Yeah, but you have to, and it makes sense. But
Yeah, I get it.
my thing is, if you go to brush off that piece of the lint that's on the crystal, I mean, does that crack? I mean,
Be
how?
careful with your car door, right?
Yeah, really. I mean, I don't know, but very cool though. I mean, very
Yeah,
cool.
they are very nice. They are very nice watches. I would own one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you won't because talk about limited production.
Well, there is that.
And if you can get past the six figures,
There's that too.
yeah. So,
Here we are.
you got anything?
I got nothing. I
Got
got
nothing?
nothing. Thus
All right.
thus ends another spring bar. So how do we reach us?
So, Joe and I, this evening, we make the Springbar podcast. Casey with us in spirit. You can reach us on Instagram at the Springbar Podcast. You can email us, the springbarpodcast at gmail.com. On a personal level, I am 120 clicks, spelled out one word, 120 clicks. Joe?
I am Watch Taylor Youth at Instagram, and you can also hashtag us, the Spring Bar Podcast, and we would love to see your watch shots, drink shots. If you got a moon watch and you want to put us on that, we would love to know your thoughts. We didn't get
Yeah.
a chance to talk about color bleed because it's real.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Yeah. Be wary of that. So
So
send us your wrist shots and then your wrist shot and see what it looks like. Yeah. And then we can't forget Casey. He is time_hack 1636. I believe that is the right one.
I believe you are correct.
Yep.
Correct. And wish him well. Wish him well. He will be away and missed for a little while here, we think.
Yeah. So you'll have to deal with Joel's and I shenanigans for a little while.
Foreseeable
So,
future.
all right, guys. Until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See you guys soon. Take care.